Hi everyone, and welcome to Moxxie Life Coaching. I'm Michelle, and I'll be your host as we explore what life coaching is and how it can empower you to create and live your best life. We'll talk about topics ranging from our own self-defeating behaviors to getting to know our authentic selves. Together, we'll investigate a variety of self-coaching modalities and explore a wide range of topics relevant to getting the most out of the life that you are actively creating. New episodes will drop every Tuesday, so please subscribe so you don't miss out on the great hints, tips, and tricks, and generally awesome content that will help you create your best life. So welcome, and thank you for listening. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Moxxie Coaching Podcast. I'm Michelle, and I will be your host today and every day. Today, we're talking about the parallels between Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the chakra system. In last week's episode, I discussed the concept of existing versus living. And in that podcast, I introduced Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow was a psychologist, very prolific in the, I want to say, like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Those are kind of his heyday years. And one of the things that he is the best known for is having developed what is called that hierarchy of needs, which is essentially a visualization, a model of the levels of human development that we all ideally will go through to reach full awareness. As a brief refresher, the hierarchy of needs is essentially shaped like a pyramid or a triangle. It has 7 layers, and the bottom layer is the base, the foundation level. The apex of the triangle is the top level, and the one that as human beings we strive to achieve. The layers are guidelines, so they're not necessarily hard, cold delineations, in that we have a tendency to flow back and forth between the different levels depending on life circumstances. Now we're going to discuss what the levels themselves are, just as a refresher. I suspect a lot of you are familiar with this from psychology class, whether high school or college or whatever. But if you're not, it is it's a good model. It's very interesting to look at yourself and see where you are at the moment on that hierarchy of needs. The first one, which is the very base of the triangle or the pyramid, is the area of biological and physiological needs. Air, food, water, shelter, warmth, sleep. The core things that we need, that our body needs to physically function. Without those things, our body ceases to function. So clearly, if we have not achieved the foundation of the pyramid, we probably don't exist. Or we don't exist for long, sadly, right? Because all of those things are necessary for our survival. The next level of the hierarchy represents our safety needs, our protection from extreme cold, extreme heat, feelings of security, having an understanding and an active participation in the concept of law and order and stability, and freedom from fear. If we feel in fear, we're not going any further emotionally. It's really difficult to be concerned with the next level, to be concerned with our social needs when there's an elephant chasing us, or when we are worried about where our next meal is coming from. The next level is social needs, and social needs involve things that make us feel like we belong, that include love and friendship, intimacy, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection, being a part of a larger group. And even introverts like me still need that social contact. It's a fundamental need of humanity. And the following item on the list, moving up the pyramid, is esteem needs. And Maslow qualified or classified these into two categories. Then the first one was esteem for yourself, having dignity, a feeling of achievement, a feeling of independence as a human being. And the second one is the esteem needs related to, as a human, how we often have a need for respect. And we want to have status and prestige and having people understand who we are in society, and that feeling of importance. And that varies from person to person. It varies, I personally think, in terms of how self-confident someone is. But regardless, everyone, even the people who seem to have low low esteem needs, meaning people who don't appear to need the approval of others in the same way that some people do, they still need esteem. They still need to feel good about who they are as a human being. They need to feel good about their contribution to the world. And without having that sense of self and without having that sense of esteem, it's very difficult to move on to the next step, which is the cognitive needs. And the cognitive needs are just that, learning, potential, understanding, curiosity, exploration, the need for meaning, the need for predictability, the need for independence. And when I say this is a need, I don't mean it's necessary for someone to have achieved a certain level of intelligence. I don't mean that you have to have a certain IQ level to move up the pyramid. What I mean is that as a person, you need to have come to the understanding that when Maslow talks about cognitive need, what he's talking about is the need that we have as humans to use our curiosity, the need that we have to understand things, the drive that we have for independence. And if you don't have the core esteem needs met, if you don't have respect for yourself, if you don't have a feeling of self-worth, then it's very difficult for you to worry about the cognitive portion of things, about moving up into the next cognitive or into the next developmental level of cognitive needs. The sixth level is what he calls aesthetic needs, the needs for beauty and balance and form, um, beautiful things around us, this need to have aesthetically pleasing things. And this need not only allows us to be absorbed into the beauty and the depth of nature, of relationships, of the things that we can't hold on to physically, but they're also there to promote our need for beautiful things. And we all have this need, and it varies greatly from person to person. It varies greatly, I think, even from culture to culture. We all we often have differing ideas of what we find aesthetically pleasing than another culture. Nevertheless, you will find art, you will find efforts to make the environment aesthetically pleasing in pretty much any culture. The next level on Maslow's list is called self-actualization. And self-actualization is the appreciation and the search for beauty and balance, form, realizing our personal potential, seeking self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth, seeking mystical experiences, things that certainly without the items further down on the pyramid, just we're not getting to. Some people never get to these areas. Some people will get here and they'll flow between maybe the self-actualization and the need for aesthetic beauty. They're going to go back and forth. And the last on Maslow's list, this is number 8, by the way, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is self-transcendence. And when a person has achieved this level of self-transcendence, they're motivated by values that are beyond themselves. They are motivated by, it could be faith, it could be some sort of mystical experience, it could be an experience with nature that has awakened something in that person. But it is the highest level on Maslow's hierarchy. And I would equate level 8, the self-transcendence level, with very few people. So the people that come to mind when I think of this are people like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, people who have put their life second to the lives of others and their commitment to improving the lives. And while many of us can have those self-transcendent experiences, and I hope that we all strive for those self-transcendent experiences, it's not overly realistic for most of us to live in that space most of the time, considering society and pressures and the need to make a living and all of those things. So it's most certainly something to strive for, but don't beat yourself up if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be self-transcendent. That's maybe for another lifetime. Just a little parenthetical note here. Maslow's original hierarchy consisted of 5 levels, and that's the one that has been most publicized. That's the one that probably most folks my age remember. But in the late 60s, early 70s, I think he did add the additional levels of the self transcendence. and played around a little bit with the other levels. So for those of you who say, hey, wait a second, I thought it was only 5 levels. Nope, it's 8 levels. And I will put a link to some information about that for you in the show notes. Thanks. So that is, in a very tiny little nutshell, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the way that it illustrates the evolution of an individual through these various stages of life, through these various stages of needs and development and growth, reminded me of the chakra system. And I was thinking, oh my word, look at you, girl. You have figured this out. Nobody else has figured this out. What an amazing parallel. Well, yeah, I was wrong about that. There's actually quite a lot of documentation online about that. But it was nice to know that my little instinct was on track. So I first learned about Maslow in college, and it was also about that time that I started to explore metaphysics. But like I said, it wasn't until working on last week's episode that it occurred to me the connection between the two, between Maslow and the chakras. So what I want to do is to give some information to those who may not have an understanding of what the chakra system is first, and then we can talk a little bit about the parallels. Chakras are centers of subtle energy throughout the body. And we have many, many, many of them. The chakras that most people think of when they think of chakras are the primary ones that run up the spine, essentially, or up the midline of the body. And some people know as well that we have some on our hands, we have them on the bottom of our feet. And as these centers of subtle energy, the chakras are used in a variety of alternative healing methodologies. They're used in Reiki, they're used in yoga, they're used in meditation. The concept of the chakra is age old. It has been around since the early traditions of Hinduism and the early traditions of Buddhism. But the popular concept of the chakras really didn't appear in our Western civilization or our Western culture strongly until right around the 1880s. And the late 19th century saw a surge in metaphysics. People were interested in everything from ghosts to auras, something called thought forms, and there was this movement among the Victorian well-to-do, please don't get me wrong, because I know there were many, many people struggling during the Victorian times, but well-to-do people in the Victorian era were fascinated with death, with dying, with the afterlife, with ghosts, with seances. There were some very vocal proponents of all of these things, and they were very interested in them. So our chakra system, our modern chakra system, really developed more during that period, where the primary chakras have been assigned a color, and they've been, I want to say, the concept has been sanitized and simplified, I guess, for a Western audience. Maybe that's the best way to put it. So what do chakras have to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Interestingly, the chakra system is designed in a very similar way. The model for the chakra system, instead of being a pyramid, is the human body. And the levels are similar. The first chakra, our root chakra, is located. So what we're going to see is that there are some distinct similarities between the chakra system and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, in that they both address human growth and development, and one is from a scientific, psychological perspective, and the other is from a metaphysical perspective, and yet the two make perfect sense together. So the first chakra is the root chakra, and that is located, if you looked at a picture of your body and you were standing up, it would be located right about on your pubic bone, as far down in your groin as it can be without not being there. Does that make any sense? And the root chakra the system of the six chakras is used as a tool for understanding different levels of the human being, from the gross to the subtle body. And it's also used as a tool to help us develop awareness. So while Maslow's hierarchy is not necessarily a tool, it does reflect the same concept of personal growth throughout one's life. So each chakra displays a certain characteristic and a different level of our individual consciousness. So we can sort of see them as little devices, little portals. Yeah, portals. Little portals that receive and emit energy and information on different frequencies. The system of the chakras can be seen as more of a symbolic representation of someone's spiritual progress as a human being, from the most base instinctual level that we're born with. You know, we cry because we've lost our warm womb when we're born. Instinct kicks in that quickly. But so it's the flow from that very base instinctual level all the way up through the most elevated level of humanity. The root chakra is the first chakra. It's the base chakra. It's the one that's found at basically, if you were looking at yourself in a diagram, it would be located right on your pubic bone, as far down your torso as you can go without it being not on your torso. And the root chakra is some people call it the battery of our being, right? It's the most the most base level of energy that we contain. And the baseness, or this gross identification, is the root of all of the attributes, such as self-centeredness, such as the desire to have food and shelter, the desire to accumulate worldly goods, the desire to have money, the desire to have security. It's similar to the very foundation of Maslow's hierarchy. The root chakra is really active in our first few years of our childhood, where we're learning to regulate all of those things. We're learning that hopefully there is enough food and there is enough water and rest and all of those things. And so we're learning this process as we develop. The second chakra, moving up the body, is the sacral chakra. And the sacral chakra is sort of the unconscious mind. It represents the place where the feelings of being a human and the feelings of having an identity sort of solidify. And it oversees our instincts for hunger, our instincts for reproduction, um, our need to conform socially to be accepted. It's also associated with the prominent drive of being a pleasure seeker. Someone who is living in their sacral chakra could be somebody who really loves to eat, who loves to drink, who is all about the earthly pleasures in excess because they're stuck in that level, right? If you're stuck in that level, that's where you're going to be. If you know someone who is like that certainly does not mean that's where they're going to be for the rest of their life, but that could be an indication that they're kind of existing in this sacral chakra space right now. And there's only so much that person is going to be able to do for anyone else because they're just really focused on their own needs. The next chakra is the solar plexus chakra, and this is located above the sacral chakra, and it's located right around the navel. And aspects of this particular chakra are our sense of power, our sense of self-centeredness, self-control, um, having a feeling of being a powerful individual, human being. People that are spending time in their sacral chakra are often doers, get things done, very active types of people. Sometimes they have a tendency to try to impose their will on others, which doesn't always go well. Sometimes people that are really spending time in their solar plexus chakra are working on personal power, working on passion and expansion, and they're often a leadership type. They're often vain, and yeah. For me, the solar plexus chakra is the place where if I am feeling pushed into doing something that I don't want to do, something that doesn't feel right, something that takes away my power, that's exactly where I feel it, is in that sacral chakra place. The next chakra up the list is the heart chakra, and that is right where you would expect it. It's in the middle of the chest. And the heart chakra is all about unconditional love and learning to be selfless, learning humility and affection, being tolerant and balanced. This level, there's little to no security to attachment that you have at that same in the solar plexus chakra. So the solar plexus chakra, you get that feeling of that attachment to worldly security, that need to know what's happening next, that need to control your environment. And that with the heart chakra starts to ease up. And we're able to be in better balance with things, and we're better able to recognize something for what it is, accept it for what it is. Doesn't mean you have to like it, but accept it for what it is and work with what you have. The next chakra is located above the heart chakra, and it's located in the throat area, and it is called the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is all about speaking your truth, using your intellect, using your spiritual intuition, using everything that you have to speak out, to be the person that you want to be, to demonstrate that you are the person that you want to be. A lot of times there's a focus on serenity, spiritual knowledge, calmness. It's the seat of, governing expressive creation and communication. And it gives voice to the emotions that are coming up from the heart. The next level up, the next chakra is called the third eye chakra. It's located essentially right in the center of your forehead. And this chakra is our intuitive chakra. This is the one that opens us up to what is available, but that we don't often tune into. All of the chakras below. And the idea is that the third eye chakra represents a level of awareness and harmony, and sort of a blending of your human energy with the universal energy. People who are very intuitive or psychic very often have a very active third eye chakra. If you're working on expanding your intuition, if you're meditating on receiving knowledge, using that third eye chakra and trying to activate that third eye chakra can help that information flow, and it can help us recognize that information. And then last on the list of what a lot of people consider the chakras is what some call the crown chakra. And it's not necessarily a chakra in that same sense. It's more, I have seen it described as a portal to oneness, which I really liked. The crown chakra is where the energy comes in. So the energy flows from your crown chakra straight down through your body to the root chakra. And that's why in yoga, when they say sit up straight, that's the whole idea, is to keep the energetic flow between the chakras moving productively through your body. So that crown chakra is where that energy is coming in, and a lot of people call it a chakra. Some other people do not call it a chakra. It just depends on your practice. It depends on what you've been taught. So we all have a chakra system, whether we realize it or not, and we all are on our own journey through Maslow's hierarchy. We have the ancient invisible energy system meeting up with the well-accepted 20th century clinical approach. But how interesting that they're both essentially pointing us in the right, no, they're both essentially pointing us in the same direction. It's been really interesting to me to research particularly Maslow and Jung, Carl Jung, and they both were, I think, ahead of their time in terms of being aware that psychology and our existence as humans and our experiences as humans go beyond the measurable scientific, at least today. Um, the parallels to me are just extremely interesting. Both systems recognize that our fundamental physical needs have to be met before we can move on to the higher level activities. Both systems are about us as humans progressing to a higher state or an elevated state. Now, we're never going to know if Maslow knew about the chakras. We're never going to know if that was his inspiration and he riffed on that with his background in psychology. Or maybe the universe just has presented both of these models because hierarchy of needs will resonate with some people and the chakra system will resonate with other people. And there will be some, like myself, and I'm sure millions of others out there, who for whom both resonate and for whom the benefits of both and the blending of both can be seen as a positive. I would love to see more research into a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. I think that it would be an amazing topic to research. And if anyone is aware of any books or resources out there, I would love to hear from you. So that is my comparison of the chakra system with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I hope that you found it interesting. I hope that it made you or helped you look at things perhaps from a different perspective, or maybe you just learned something completely new. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe and like and rate and do all of those things. I'm also available on all social media at Moxxie Coaching, and I am greatly appreciative of your time. So thank you so much for taking a listen, and please reach out if you have any questions. I would be more than happy to answer them on the air or send you an email reply. And then I will talk to you on the next episode. Be well.